I will read now together with you a short text on 5G radio access, a relevant topic in telecommunications. The capabilities of 5G wireless access must extend far beyond previous generations of mobile communication. Examples of these capabilities include very high data rates, very low latency, ultra-high reliability, energy efficiency, and extreme device densities, and will be realized by the development of LTE in combination with new radio access technologies. Key technology components include extension to higher frequency bands, access backhaul integration, device-to-device communication, flexible duplex, flexible spectrum usage, multi-antenna transmission, ultra-lean design, and user control separation. So, how much do you understand? Take a moment to think. 100%, 80%, 50%, or less? Can we decide whether this text is good or bad? If you said no, then congratulations, you're right. We cannot. Why? Because it depends on the addressee and what knowledge she shares with the sender, on what knowledge the sender can count upon. This is the topic of common ground in communication, which has been studied far and wide by many scholars, among which we can mention the psychologist Herbert Clark from Stanford. Clark defines common ground as the collection of mutual knowledge, mutual beliefs, and mutual assumptions that is essential for communication between two people. Clark investigates various aspects of common ground in conversation. We will focus here on common ground as shared knowledge, and we will now go back to our telecommunication text. Let us imagine that the reader is not knowledgeable in telecommunication at all, and let us try to help her understand something. First of all, 5G. 5G means the fifth generation of wireless access, which in turn means wireless access between portable devices of any kind and the base station, which in turn is the point where the backbone, the cabled connection, arrives. The text then promises very high data rates, very low latency. What do these things mean? Please note that, given the quite enthusiastic tone of the document, underlined by words like capabilities, extend far beyond, the reader will assume these characteristics to be positive. It would be quite surprising if instead they were problems or issues. So, by very high data rates, very low latency, it is meant that, thanks to 5G, very high amount of data are exchanged in a given time frame, with quite low waiting time between the request by the user and the system's response. Imagine you're controlling a drone. You definitely would want to have low latency. The next promise is about ultra-high reliability. A lay reader knows what reliability means in English, but it's clear that here a technical meaning is at stake. Ultra-high reliability means that you can trust the data you're receiving, that they have not been corrupted along the way. This is fundamental in mission-critical situations like remote surgeries or remote control of the temperature of an aircraft engine. Let us pick now one last chunk of the text. Development of LTE Here we have an acronym, LTE. Something you should beware of most of the times when you speak or write. Unless acronyms are super famous, like for example UN, you do know what it means, right? Do not use them, or at least explain them the first time you use them. LTE stands for long-term evolution, and it's the name that was given to 4G, the previous generation of radio access, which in turn means wireless access between devices and the base station, which in turn means, okay, well, you know the story. As regards the text above, please note how the explanation and furthermore the examples do not only make these few words clearer, but also help fully appreciating the real value, the world of knowledge and applications that lies behind them. So again, is the text good or bad? I would say quite technical, and therefore good for a quite technical person specialized in that field. Which brings us to the discussion about the two main possible mistakes with common ground. Mistake number 1, the worst and most common mistake. Taking for granted that our audience speaks our language, knows what we know, and like what we like, think what we think, share our values, etc., etc. Please don't. Always ask yourself the question, who is going to receive my communication? What can I take for granted? I remember a group of computer science students who took part in a competition about medical apps. They failed in spite of the fact that, as they later reported to me, they had spent the nights improving the code for an app meant to facilitate the diagnosis of diabetes through image processing of the retina. Why? Because no computer scientist was sitting in the board of referees. Instead, there were doctors who simply could not understand their technical language. The second mistake is less common. It's the opposite. Saying too much. Teaching people what they already know, which is clearly annoying. I remember a PhD student in management engineering. She was applying for an internship with a well-known professor in her field of research. But one page of her presentation letter was a lesson about the field of research that professor had actually opened. Definitely not advisable. By the way, the story ends well. She changed the letter and was accepted.